Hey boy, the Robinsons, a family company.
Recruiter is named Blast from the Past Video Game Edition is the game. Today guys we're going to be talking about Mount & Blade 1, the Viking Conquest version. This is part 2. If you have not seen part 1, what the hell are you doing? Go see part 1, okay? Anyways, let's continue. You have been warned. So, last time we left off, we talked about the combat, we talked about a little bit what you could do in the start of the game. Today guys, we're going to be talking about the base building mechanics and the boating and everything. If you want to know, we are doing the Viking Conquest version of the game, since I've already talked about the Mount & Blade all the way up until Viking Conquest, until Mount & Blade 2 comes out, of course. So, building. Building is new, when you can build your own little settlement now that they added in, I guess you could call Viking Conquest a DLC in some type of way. But in Viking Conquest, you can now finally actually build your base, or a settlement, or a little tiny fort, I guess you could say. To do this, you don't need to be too much high gear. It's not like an end game thing, and it's not like it's somewhat of middle gear. It's like between starting ish to middle gear. It's closer to middle gear because you would probably want to build your base middle gear kind of thing, where you're already got a lot of gear and stuff and you're past the mercenary kind of style. But if you want to build your settlement, mostly what you have to do is you have to walk to a distance that isn't anywhere near someone else's settlement or anything else, and then go to camp and make a settlement. Once you do that, you will be able to name your settlement whatever you want to call it. Do know that it does cost a little bit, I think a couple thousand to build it. It's not instant, obviously, so that's something you'll have to look towards too. So that's why I said it's like somewhat middle gear. And once you get that, you have a couple options. Obviously, you have hire staff, you have manage your, where you get to put your soldiers and prisoner area. So the first thing usually I do is I put some soldiers inside, and then you can put some of your prisoners. And we'll get to the skills part of the kind of Mount & Blade thing later, because you'll understand why you want to put prisoners and stuff. So with that, you would hire staff. From hiring a staff, he would be your captain. Once you talk to your captain, he would tell you you can improve your base. Obviously, you have to have materials and some money. This is when mid-game comes in, because you're going to actually need a lot more stuff. 11 wood and some other type of things. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I played it, but there's many ways you can get this. There's two ways you can get this. You can either buy it. You could go to a local town, like a city or something, and buy the goods from trader, or you could find these lumber mills or something and work for the people for a couple hours, and then you would actually get the lumber mills yourself, and you can get it that way instead of having to buy it. So two ways you can get this stuff. And then once you actually get the gear, the money, and stuff you need, you go up to them and tell them that you want to improve the base. It'll take a couple days. Once it does, then you can hire more staffs, and there you go. Your fort is now completed, and you can hire like blacksmith, you can hire some cookers, like an in-person, and you can hire some other people to make your settlement better. You can only upgrade your settlement once, so once the settlement is upgraded, that's it. There's no more upgrading, though it is good for a starting base if you don't want to just constantly try to build up as soldiers, as many men as possible, and take over a castle. It's a better way to get more soldiers, but also have a base and a safe place to call home. You can only have one settlement, so you can't just go around planting many thousands of them if you want, though it would be cool, but you can only have one. So again, good for a starter base. Now we're going to talk about skills. And oh boy, here we go. So, skills. Your character can have many different types of skills, from having what he can handle of a one sword to literally holding a bow. You have all types of skills. You have up to 5 skills on your side over here. You use them for different things like strength. Strength is used for weapons like swords and stuff like that. and you have agility. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Those are used for mounts, bows, and other things. You have influence, as I call it. It is used to rack up more points, so you could use it for trading and other things. And then the bottom one is to use if you want to get more soldiers. It'll let you get, your leadership up in the distance. And then the one in the middle is obviously explained. It is all your perks that you have, and then the one off to your side are your weapon skills. And those are kind of the skills you could go off of with your character and customize it and change the way he wants to be built, or the way you want him to be built and the way you like it. And so now we're going to be talking about the companions. Now there is the companions that you can find around the map and recruit them on your side. These are special companions that can follow you around. They don't die as like your normal soldiers. They're kind of in a way what people call important characters. Just like you're kind of important, but not really in the way that other games show it. It just means you have, more lives than anything else. But these people don't die. Like when they die, they don't physically die. And you can also upgrade their skills too, so you can make them have certain type of skills and different types of ways. They also stack, so let's say you want full-on trader, you don't want to put all your perks into trading. You can make your companion be a complete trader, and he could just do all the trading for you and stuff. This can be good and this can be bad depending on how you look at it, because you could just make it where all the NPCs like this have all skill sets instead of focusing on your character to do it, because then it limits the style. And if you don't have it kind of this way, you probably won't end up as good as you want it to be. Obviously you do you, and you choose how you want it to be, but this kind of way is usually how it's done, just because the NPCs can implement it in that way, and you don't get really punished if you do it this way. Though companions can be very expensive, so doing it this way is somewhat good, but it also can come with a cost of how expensive NPCs can be if you want to hire companions. Also, you can lose your companions, even though they don't die, really, in a way. You can lose them. If you get captured and get thrown in jail or something, you can possibly lose your companions. Sometimes if you try to escape, because your character will eventually try to escape over time, you will chancely lose your companions because they will not escape with you. Therefore, you lose them. You also need to worry about your companions having morale. We'll talk about morale a little bit more down the road, but morale and kind of the way they interact with other NPCs. So if you find another companion and you want that companion to be a part of your group, you need to also focus on that companion doesn't like that companion, depending on what they do. So it's a little bit more, not too complex, but it has that kind of role and feeling and stuff. Usually in the new ones that I've been noticing, in the old ones, they made it where it was a lot harder and you only had a limited choice. In the new one, you can somewhat persuade them to stay and stuff. It's a lot bit more better, but yeah, you do have to focus on who hates each other, who doesn't, and that's okay. That's the way medieval kind of works, or even in general. Some people just don't like each other and to work with them. Obviously, you can refine them and rehire them again after a while. Now we're here gonna talk about the high skill kind of area. A high skill area, this is when you now have finally gone past and you have now strike down a kingdom or take a couple hits with another faction. You go to war and you start building up a lot of morale and stuff like that. And that's nothing. We'll talk about morale real soon, like I said I was going to. But high gear areas, this is when you start taking over castles and stuff. And so now when you start taking over castles, this is when war breaks out, and you probably want to choose your faction wisely who you want to go to war with, because if you choose the wrong faction or you do it at the wrong time, you could get yourself killed. But let's say you do claim yourself a castle, you do claim yourself a fort or some type of place. You can start doing taxes. You can start taxing your people. You can start inviting people over, like other kingdoms over, and start talking them out, and doing trades and other stuff with the faction there is. Now we're going to talk about morale, because this is important. It is one of the main functions of the game that you should probably understand. Morale, it goes off of all your men. Morale is very, very important. Low morale, people are gone. Low morale, people hate you. Low morale, you get it. Low morale is very important. And the only way to boost morale is either winning fights, giving them a drink of beer. If you go to the inn, you can pay for a very expensive, the best alcohol, and it boosts the morale. But if you lose a fight, or if you do some things, you can lose morale, and this could also require some time and thinking if you don't do this correctly, because you could lose your best soldiers. And morale is a tricky game sometimes if you don't focus on it or don't do it correctly. Like if you were encamping another kingdom and you don't have food, that's another thing. If you don't have food, then your morale can go dropping down, and then there's a lot of other mechanics to that. There's you have other things like scouting. You can also scout and send scouts out to go get food and stuff from other places. There's a lot of morale bonuses and debuffs to the game that you will have to focus. It's not too much of a big deal, but it is something you should focus on your first thing if you want to build up an army and kind of thing. So that is mostly Mount & Blade. Like there is a lot of other things like sieging, how to take over a siege, and other things, the mechanics, but I don't really, again, have time to sit here and explain it all. And no, I'm not going to split it up to a third part. The second part is good enough, but you get the main mechanics and how the game works out. And I cannot wait for Mount & Blade 2. When it comes out and I get to test it a little bit more, I will explain how the mechanics work to the game, and definitely will be on top of that. But for now, if you do like these kind of series, do let me know down in the comments. Give it a like, give it a sub, whatever. You be you, I be me. Until then, guys, catch you later.